So as you're sitting there struggling to pay for your lives, right? As you're sitting there trying to figure out, how to pay your mortgage, how to pay your rent, you know what I mean? Food, electric bills, gas bills, everything else. And everything keeps on increasing. And you watch the government shipping your cash away to fund things that you maybe don't agree with, right? Maybe you do, all right? Here's a very interesting video that I came across that was a pretty concise way to explain what exactly is happening with your cash and how much value it loses as it changes hands as far as what you're being taxed on. Now, what's really crazy about all this, like I said, is that the initiatives that they put these tax dollars to, some you may agree on, some you don't, but you don't really have a say-so in it. I mean, yes, we have elected officials that's supposed to be hosting the will of the people, but we know how well that usually goes. So I invite you to take a second, actually probably about 7 minutes worth, okay, and watch this explanation. I'm curious about your thoughts. Check it out.
Explanation here today. We're using round numbers and percentages based on national averages. So first you pay your federal income tax, which based on the national average comes out to about 22% for the median income in America. And your state and income taxes associated with payroll taxes cost you another 8.9%. Already your dollar earned you just 69 cents into your wallet. Crazy, right? Well, this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. It gets crazier. Let's say you want to go spend that at the store. You spend your 69 cents. Now, depending on the state you're in, you may pay upwards of an 8% sales tax on any items you buy. But for argument's sake, we'll look at, again, a national average. Comes to about 6.4%. I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, folks, but trust me, this all makes sense in a sec. Your 69 cents, which was once a full dollar, loses approximately another 4.35 cents in value, bringing your spending power down to just 64.65 cents. You hand over your money, you obtain 64.65 cents worth of goods. The business owner actually nets significantly less. Well, why is that? Now, obviously, aside from fees and licensing and other associated operating criteria imposed by the government, both state and federal and local, which we'll leave all out for simplicity purposes, once they take your dollar, that business also has to pay taxes, just like you did. So when they receive your 64 cents, they're hit with a corporate tax. Now, again, look, in the interest of simplicity, we're eliminating standard deductions, but operating as if we're just being taxed on a profit. So hear me out. This corporate tax coming in at about 20% brings that 64 cents down to 51.72 cents of your full dollar. After just 2 transactions in the economy, you spending it at a business and the business keeping it, nearly 50% is gone to the government. But what about the guy that sold you those goods? Or anyone else who works at that store? They have to get paid, right? Well, the store that you shop at has to pay one of its employees that same 51.72 cents. By now, you probably know that he's going to not get that full amount. So as soon as that money is paid out, both the employee and the employer are subject to a 15.3% FICA tax, which they evenly split. The employer, only left with 51.72 cents, pays their half of this tax, which comes down to 7.65%, knocking another 4 cents off the value of the business's dollar. So they only have 47.6 cents to pay their employee. And then pays their half of FICA tax and everything like that with the employee. And this is state income tax, as we mentioned earlier. All this averaged in comes to about 8.9% for the employee. Now factor in another 22% for federal income tax, and you're left with just 34.81 cents of value. It's insane, right? If you're not mad, though, strap in. It's going to get a lot worse. Let's say that same employee wants to go buy a car, or anything else for that matter. He pays a sales tax on that, too. Not to mention the tax to keep it registered, to drive it on the roads he's already taxed to drive on. Let's say he wants to buy a house. Every year he's paying more taxes on that as well as anything else from a paycheck he's already been taxed on. But let's put all that aside, all right? Let's get back to that same dollar. That is now, after changing hands just 3 times in the economy, 34 cents. The government's taken the rest. Now, let's say you want to invest your remaining 34 cents. You have an amazing year in the stock market. You get 10% yield. Well, that's another 3.48 cents that you now own. Well, not so fast. The government has got to get theirs before you even think about getting yours. This comes in the form of a capital gains tax, which by definition is a tax on the profit from a sale of an asset. Now, that you already paid taxes on the dollars that you just invested in that asset. It's crazy. Usually this tax, though, comes in around 20%, we'll say. Okay, so your 10% profit really isn't 3.48 cents. It's actually around 2.76 cents. Now, keep in mind, Democrats, some, have even proposed also taxing the money you already have after paying taxes on all of it. Taxing a principal amount on whether you invested or not, simply for having it. You got a savings account? Cool, we're going to tax you just about on the money that you have in your savings account that you've already paid taxes on. Whoa. But anyway, let's say I still have my 34.81 cents plus the 2.76 cents that I made in the market and the government has allowed me to keep, leaving me with 37.57 cents. Now keep in mind, that was just 3 transactions ago. It was a full dollar. So let's say I die and I want to leave my money to the incredible producer Mike and help me write this segment. Unfortunately, I live in one of the 15 states that imposes a death tax, otherwise known as an estate tax. They literally tax me to die. These rates can be as high as 15%. Now, using that number, my remaining 37.57 cents from the full dollar a couple transactions ago, mind you, that I took to the grave after paying a lifetime of taxes on, just took a 5.6 cent hit for dying, leaving my producer with just 31.93 cent inheritance. Just 3 transactions and an untimely death. That $1 in the U.S. economy has lost 70% of its value to the government. Keep in mind, we omitted, by the way, property taxes, vehicle taxes, city taxes, service and utility taxes, licensing taxes. I mean, hell, yeah, even tax you to own a dog in some states. With that said, your $1 would have likely evaporated even sooner. And we only covered 3 transactions in death. It's safe to say that after like 5, I don't know, maybe 6, possibly 7, the government at various levels, state, local, and federal, will have consumed nearly 100% of that dollar. That is money that is not in the economy anymore. And the government doles some out to private contractors, but it is money that is spent on whatever the presiding government thinks is a priority. And let's be honest, they don't have the best track record. You are taxed on money when you receive it, when you spend it, and even when you die. As your hard-earned dollar works its way through the economy, it loses about 30% of its value every time it changes hands. And where does it go? Well, we left $80 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan. I mean, the Pentagon can't account for trillions of dollars of spending over the last 20 years. I mean, for Lord's sake, we spent $10 million on a gender studies program in Pakistan. 250 years ago, we fought the Revolutionary War over a 2.5% tax hike in a breakfast beverage, in tea. Now look at us.